So what's the story with Bitcoin? Where is the there? And the mayor pro tem is in the house. Roll it, Ed. Welcome inside of Studio A in the WBRZ broadcast facility. The Clay Young Show is on the air. The year is almost over. Still lots of great time to have and conversations to have, and we have another one tonight with the Mayor Pro Tem. LaMont Cole is here with us in studio, District 7 representative. First year as the president of the Metro Council, and
Yes, sir.
I want to get into the politics. But
Yes, sir.
first, let's talk about really your primary passion next to community, and that's education.
Yes, sir.
You are, I don't think people know this, a principal. I mean, you have 4 schools that are under your authority.
Right. I was a principal for 16 years.
Right.
My actual title is Chief Academic Officer because I now supervise and help to manage 4 charter schools here in Baton Rouge. One is Seasal Elementary, the other is Seasal Middle, the other is Madison Preparatory Academy, which most people know from all the championships we've won. Just shout out. And of course, Louisiana Virtual Charter Academy. So I help to supervise and manage those schools. I work with the principals there to make sure all of our academic programs are where they should be and our students get the support they need in order to be successful. We're one of the highest performing charter groups in the city of Baton Rouge. Been around 25 years. Our first school opened 25 years ago. So we've been able to maintain and be consistent in our efforts to help children, and that's the work I really love. Been an educator 25 years now, so that's the work I truly love, just being helping and working with kids.
You know, I told a story last week in a presentation that I was giving, and I talked about what you did for some kids back in 2016.
That's right, yeah.
May of 2016.
That's right.
And I had you come on my podcast at the time to talk about it, so that you had students who were getting ready to take an exam.
That's right.
Tell that story for people who may not have known it.
Well, every year, as people may or may not know, all over the country, actually, students take statewide assessment exams. In some states, they're required in order for students to pass or graduate from high school, but most schools are graded based on how students perform. And so I'm always looking for innovative ways to motivate and help students be successful. And that particular year, I had done a lot of different things in previous years, and one of my teachers came and said, you know, you should write a personal note to every kid. I said, yeah, but I want to go a step further. I could do that and send it to them, but that's been done. And she said, no, you should write it right on their desk right before they come. I said, you know, that's going to take a long time.
Right.
And so she said, yeah. And I said, but you know what, I'm committed. So I went to the school on a Saturday morning, and I had all of the seating charts for every class with every kid's name. And so I sat down at each desk, and I knew every student on campus.
Sure.
I prided myself as a principal on knowing every single student on campus, and not only knowing their name, but knowing something about them. And so I wrote personal notes to every single student on campus. But it was extremely personal. It might say, Clay, I really like the fact that you wear pinstripe suits on Monday. So they knew that the message was directly to them. And then at the end, I signed it, good luck this week, make me proud. And so I didn't know at the time it was going to go as viral as it did. But one of the teachers walked in, and she started crying, and she did a Facebook Live, and then the media picked it up, and it just went crazy from there. But, I truly was trying to make sure they knew and understood I cared about them as an individual and wanted them to be successful.
Let's talk about the kids. Anybody who knows you they know how much you care about your students and why that. Why is that such a passion for you? Because you're juggling between politics and education. You're not exactly choosing the easy
Don't
stuff.
get a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
Well, I think I grew up in a very challenging environment. I grew up in an environment where every single day I went outside, I had to think about defending myself. That's just the era and the time I grew up in and the environment I grew up in. So when I became an educator, I thought about how many students leave their homes every day concerned about something happening to them and feeling as if they don't have anyone to speak to. And so I tried to make myself available for all of my students as a teacher. And then when I became a principal with a little influence and a little power at the school, I wanted all the students to know they could come and speak with me in the event there was something going on in their lives they felt uncomfortable about. But I think more importantly, I wanted them to have support. And so as a principal, as a school leader, I thought it, and I think it's still very important that school leaders make sure children know they're there to help them, be supportive, and provide them with any resources they need to be successful. And listen, let's go a step further. If that means I need to go into the community and have tough conversations with people who may be a hindrance for them or who may be putting challenges in their way, I'm willing to do that as well. So I think students, my own upbringing, my own challenges, put me in a position to think, well, let me do for them what I didn't have someone do for me. I had coaches and things of that nature.
Sure.
But when the school principal, who most people respect for one reason or another, maybe not the person, but they definitely respect the position, puts himself in a position to help the students, I think students have a better academic program and progress.
We're going to take a quick break and come back and continue with Councilman Cole about what's happening in the Capital Region. Stay right there. In addition to being an academician, like how I use that word, he is also a council representative and the president of the city council. We call it the mayor pro tem. So let's talk about the politics of Baton Rouge. We're wrapping up another year. Obviously, like the rest of the country, we've seen this huge spike in violence here.
That's right.
And I know that I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about that. People want to know your position on all the crime that we've had. Where do you stand on it, and what should we be doing?
First and foremost, let me say, offer my sincere condolences to all of the families who've lost a loved one this year as a result of the spike in violence we've seen, not just in the country, but here in Baton Rouge. I think currently we're up to 140-something homicides, which is the highest we've ever had in our city. So here's where I am. I think it's extremely unfortunate. We have people in our communities who choose violence over peace, all right? Let me go a step further and say this. Anytime there are individuals who live in this community who are making it extremely unsafe for children, that's a problem. Now, I am one who is all for reform. I believe in reform as it relates to policing. I understand 21st century policing. I get it. But here's the deal. We have people, and I'm going to call them geniuses for lack of a better term, who wake up every morning or who wake up some mornings with an intent to harm people.
Right.
Something got to happen to them.
Right.
All right? If it's up to me, we ought to go find who they are. If we have the intel and the intelligence and we know who they are, we ought to go find them and lock them under the jail. And that's not very popular. I know people are going to be upset to hear me say that. But here's the deal. I have a 3-year-old and I have a 9-year-old. And I don't see children outside playing in our communities the way I used to.
Right.
And that's because parents are afraid for their children to go outside and play. That's a problem. Right. And when we identify, recognize, understand, and know who these individuals are, something need to happen to them. Now, I'm not saying police need to go in communities and harass individuals,
Right.
but I'm saying when there is intelligence and we know that individuals are seeking to cause problems, we need for the branches of our law enforcement, the branches of our government to work together. We need officers to make quality arrests. We need our DA to file charges, and we need judges to sentence individuals appropriately when they have broken the law.
So let me ask you, and you said not popular. I'm pretty popular around here. I'm sure everybody agrees with what you're saying. But then we do see the same individuals over and over again. It's not everybody. It's a small percentage who keep getting out and
That's
keep
right.
doing it over and over and
That's
over again.
right.
That seems to be the broken link in the chain.
Well,
How do you do so? What do you do about that?
Well, let me be clear. We arrived here not overnight.
Yeah.
We arrived here as a result of a broken system,
Right.
and then folks making an attempt, making promises to get elected, and then making an attempt to fix the system based on the promises they made, not fully understanding the scope and depth of the issue. It's
Right.
a lot larger just in addressing one issue.
Right.
What we have to think about are the conditions that lead to individuals creating and committing crimes.
Correct.
We have a lot of issues in our school system. We have a lot of issues in our communities that are underdeveloped economically, that are underdeveloped in terms of the resources and accesses they have to things that are going to put them on a path to a better future. And so when we start talking about what is going on in communities where all they see is anger, poverty, and despair, how do we go into those communities and provide hope? How do we provide access? How do we make sure that every child in this particular city, in this community, around the country actually receives a quality education as early as 3 years old so they can learn early how to make good decisions? So we can't just jump in and start trying to solve this problem at one point. We got to go all the way back to the issues
Sure.
and then begin to work our way forward. But then on the inside, before you end up in prison, then we have to work backwards from the end, start at the beginning, and then when we meet somewhere in the middle, we have a peaceful community that we all can be proud of.
You are very involved in the community, and that's one of the big things that I know about you. There is next week going to be a toy giveaway where you've done this the last few years. So why are you so, because I mean, there are electeds who are in the community, but man, you take it to another level. So why are you out there so much?
All I know, here's the deal. If we're going to be serious about changing the conditions and the quality of life for people all over this city, all over the parish, all over the state, the country, then we have to be there. We have to be in the community where the issues are, where the needs are. Can't be everywhere at all times, but
Right.
we can be some places doing good work a lot of the time. And so I try to balance my time wisely. I try to go to the community that served me. Listen, I grew up in Eden Park. I grew up behind the mall. We moved a lot. And so those communities that helped to raise me, I try to be in those communities, providing support, providing access, providing resources so people can get a leg up instead of a leg into a situation that is going to lead down a destructive path. And so we try to do the best we can. And it's not just me, it's the people I work with to help people. And that's all we want to do, help people.
So we're going to take a quick break and come back and talk with Councilman Cole about investment in North Baton Rouge.
That's right.
And then what's coming here in the Capital Region over the next year with all of the money that's come down from the federal government. And then what's the story with Bitcoin? All you hear nowadays is Bitcoin. Jeff Bezos has bought a bunch of it. All these people. I got a guy who's going to talk with you about it. Who's going to talk with you about it. Back in just a moment. Stay there. So you hear a lot about investment in the community, investment in North Baton Rouge, and I believe the logic of investing in areas that are hurting the most is that it has an impact on the entire community. So everyone benefits when there are good schools in
Right.
poor communities, when there is access to healthcare and jobs and all of
That's
these
right.
things. But we've been talking about it for 20 years, but there doesn't seem to be an effort yet that has taken a big leap in the way of investment, even though there have been efforts.
Right.
Not that one big one there where you go, okay, now we got it. Why hasn't that happened, and what would that look like?
Well, I think the system is broken, as I talked about it. When we think back to 30, 40 years ago here in the city of Baton Rouge, North Baton Rouge was thriving.
Yeah.
And then as the city began to expand south and begin to expand southeast, we saw a lot of the investment leave and go towards those areas. And that's okay for that area, but then we didn't think about what we were leaving behind. So we have to go back into a city, and then we have to say, go back into an area and say, what do thriving communities have? Grocery stores, restaurants, entertainment, hospitals, good schools. Let's start with there, and then let's go into that environment and make sure we put those things in those environments. Let's go back and start with grocery stores. We have a food desert in North Baton Rouge area.
People hear that all the time, and I don't know that they actually understand what it means when you say there is a food desert.
Let me say it this way. People who live in a certain area don't have access to fresh food, fresh fruit,
Right.
fresh vegetables
Right.
within a 5-mile radius of where they live.
Right.
That is called a food desert. The produce and everything that they need in order to survive, the very basic necessities that people need in order to survive, there are no farmers markets in the area. There are no grocery stores that sell fresh produce in the area, and so within a 5-mile radius. And so that is what you call a food desert, when a person has to travel beyond 5 miles in order to get those things.
Why hasn't it been possible to incentivize investment there? And again, we've been talking about it for a long time.
Right.
But there are businesses and businessmen and women who I think would partner with the community to go into there. Why hasn't that happened?
Fear of crime. That's
Okay.
really all it is. We recognize and understand in areas, in poor communities, there is a lot of crime. And is that a correlation or a coincidence? I think there's a direct correlation to that. But I think if the correlation is where there is a depressed area where these things don't exist, why not put those things back there and let's see if the crime goes down? Listen, businesses want to protect their interest, and communities want to live in areas where businesses are thriving because it's closer for them to have access to those businesses. And so therefore, I think if we were to see a deployment of resources into an area like that, we see crime go down because we see law enforcement be very, very prevalent in those areas as well. And so I think that's the splash and that's the direction we need to go in.
What is the working dynamic with the council right now?
Right now, the council is getting along as individuals extremely well. I think this is perhaps one of the best group of to serve on the council that we've had.
I agree.
Because one of the things we agreed upon early on, no matter what the issues are, we'd be harsh on the issue, but not on each other.
Right.
We agreed to disagree without being disagreeable.
Right.
There are times when look, I've been on the council now 6 years, and there have been times in that council chamber where things have been extremely intense. When I was selected as the mayor pro temp, I was extremely intentional on being inclusive of everybody and their opinions and their ideas, whether I agree or not.
Right.
I think it's important to have open dialogue about the things that affect this city parish because we come from different walks of life, and primarily we've had different experiences, and our experiences dictate the way we think, and so I shouldn't hold that against you because you grew up differently from me.
Check out the toy giveaway. It's going to be next Tuesday as we sit here and talk.
right.
And it's a great opportunity to help the community. Councilman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Back to talk about Bitcoin in just a moment. So David Mahler is the president and CEO of GameCoin. I was having a conversation last week with Matt Moscona. I believe he was here, and we were just talking about all this Bitcoin craze. You're a big community guy. In fact, you were talking to Councilman Cole on his way out about his toy drive next week, and that you're going to help. And reading about you, community is important. So I just want to take a quick second to talk about that, because it is to me too. Being in the community and all this volunteerism, why do you have such a passion for that?
I do, because I grew up very poor. So growing up, I wanted things that I couldn't have. My parents couldn't afford them for me. And as I've grown and I've grown my businesses, I've been very blessed and fortunate now to have things that I always dreamed of. And I want to see kids that are less fortunate be able to have those things that I didn't have growing up.
Yeah, and you know, like we were talking about with the councilman, it's just you got to put your money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah.
He walked out of here with a check, and you know he's going to call you to get one from you too.
I know.
Right? So you started GameCoin as another business in your portfolio to get in on some of what's happening with Bitcoin. Why?
I did it for the philanthropic side. The co-founder, Frankie Batto of GameCoin, came to me. He's one of my operation managers at H&O. He came to me with this idea. And the first time he walked in my office with it, I kind of told him to get out. You're crazy. So the next day he comes back in and he's got a 15-page business plan, and he's like, hey, I really want you to read this. And I start reading through it, and I'm getting to like page 6 or 7, and I'm like, Frankie, this really has some legs.
Yeah.
So you know what? I'll stand behind it and I'll be a part of it, but let's add a couple twists into it. Let's do this, add a philanthropy side, and I'll be behind it. And so started GameCoin with the philanthropic side, hoping that we would be able to raise enough funds to be able to change the world for the less fortunate out there that don't have the ability to participate in sports because of fees.
That's what's so fascinating about your company and then what you're doing. So the cryptocurrency genre, if we can call it that, is not very old, and people are getting into it, investing it. And 80% of cryptocurrency, I believe, has already been mined. And so what's the there? Because it's not a tangible dollar bill, but it's got value to it, where you hear all these billionaires saying, I want as much of it as I can get.
I try to compare it to a dollar bill, no different than you putting your money in a bank and using your debit card or credit card all the time. It is dollars that take the ability to be able to buy the crypto. So it is dollars that convert to crypto. So even though it's a digital asset, it's no different than you using your debit card or Venmo or Cash App. It's just new. So people aren't used to it. And I think as we grow and it becomes more of a household name, because only 2% of the world are invested in the crypto right now.
Right.
So as more people invest into it, I think it'll be more mainstream, and people will start thinking of it as an actual currency.
Do you think people, well, the obvious answer is people don't understand it as much as they do traditional currency. So how long before you get to a point of info saturation where people will trust it more to invest in cryptocurrency?
I think we're still a ways away on people trusting it. There's a lot of volatility in crypto. It's like the Wild Wild West right now.
Right.
Anytime you start a crypto or anybody talks about crypto, the first thing out of their mouth is it's a scam. It's a Ponzi scheme. They're stealing the money. So I think it takes building trust. And I mean, I've built a lot of character myself. And over this past 5 or 6 months, I've heard more things about me that I haven't heard in the 41 years being alive. So it definitely, to earn trust in this market, I still think we're a little ways away. But I think honestly, as much as the people don't want the government involved, the more regulations that are put onto it, I think the more trust will come.
Where should people begin if they want to understand cryptocurrency and even potentially invest in it?
The internet, YouTube.
Well, there's no bad information on the internet.
I
Everything there
understand
is
that.
true.
You have to start with the larger exchanges, like you're saying, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Binance, the larger blockchains. If you learn and get information on those, then you'll understand the altcoins that come underneath them, like GameCoin. We're built on the Binance blockchain, because to start your own exchange would cost billions of dollars, where the altcoin cost us millions of dollars. So it allows us an avenue to get into the crypto world to do what we wanted to do.
Do you see a day, and I've got a little less than a minute left, do you see a day where crypto is more saturated than traditional cash, where people are using this more than money?
I definitely see it coming. You see companies like Ticketmaster, Major League, NFL starting to accept cryptocurrency to buy tickets and things along those lines. So yes, I do at some point seeing cryptocurrency being something that takes over cash.
You know, I'm sure there are people watching us right now saying, I don't want to understand another way to spend money. Let me just spend money. What would you say to people who have that frustration?
It's going to spend the same exact way. You're not going to change up anything that you do. You're going to have a crypto credit card that's going to be no different than having another credit card or a debit card. And you're just going to be able to swipe it the same way you do, or put up your phone and then scan a QR code, and it's going to work the same exact way. It's just a different currency.
Quickly, 10 seconds, where can people find you to learn more about this?
You can find us on thegamecoin.net.
All right, on thegamecoin.net. All right, we're out of here for another week. Next week, we air on Christmas Eve. Got something special for you then. Should be fun. Maybe some eggnog. Maybe Gordy Rush will be here. Maybe not. See you next week.